Hello, Professor and class. This is Giovanni. Today, I'll be going over the writings of Dwight Waldo, Douglas McGregor, and Charles E. Lindblom. In his essay, The Administrative State Revisited, Dwight Waldo reflects on his earlier writings, specifically his 1948 book, The Administrative State. Waldo challenges the strong-held beliefs that public administration is purely a technical and apolitical endeavor, but instead argues that it is rooted in ethics, values, and political choices. What stood out to me the most in this essay can be found on page 157, last paragraph to page 158. In this passage, Waldo tells us that there is a phenomenon that causes an individual to focus so much on an instrumental value that it ends up becoming a value in itself. In other words, the means become an end. This is a warning to us administrator, a warning not to become dogmatic and lose focus on the mission statement or the job. Case in point is LASA. In the early 2000s, LASA started using a technique called housing is first. The idea behind this technique is to help an individual get into housing first, then combine that with supportive services in order for them to become more stable. Now, this was just a tool that was supposed to be used to end the homeless epidemic here in Los Angeles County. However, they took it too far. They started saying that because they were housing a numerous amount of people, that they were solving the homeless problem. However, the evidence shows otherwise. According to Lotsa themselves, homelessness has risen significantly in LA County since 2023. As one can see here, it rose by 9%. Yet despite it rising, Lhasa is still claiming victory over homelessness. Lhasa is claiming victory because they are housing more individuals now than ever before. However, this is not a victory. The original purpose of Lhasa was to end the homeless epidemic here in Los Angeles County. However, because they decided to use the means as an end, they are saying that they are being successful because of the number of people they are housing. This is dangerous. This is what Waldo's warn is about. As human beings, we fall into these type of traps in a subconscious level. It is a phenomenon to where we see small little victories on the means, and then we decide to make it an end. We as public administrators need to be cognizant of this situation, of this phenomena, in order to avoid its pitfalls. In this essay, Theory Y, the integration of individual with an organizational goal, Douglas McGregor introduces us to two different styles of management, Theory X and Theory Y. According to Theory X, employees do not want to work. They avoid responsibility. Hence the reason why management needs to instruct and even control them in order to reach the organizational goals. Theory Y, however, states the opposite. It states that people do want to work, that humans seek responsibility, and under the right motivation are capable of obtaining the organizational goals. The part that struck a chord with me the most can be found on page 170, where it states that people will exercise more self-direction and self-control with less supervision if they are committed greatly to the goals of the organization. The reason why this struck a chord to me is because this reminds me that as human beings, we seek a higher purpose, we seek a higher calling. And if the organization aligns their mission with that calling, then we don't need complete oversight. We don't need to be micromanaged. We could go along with the organization to meet those goals. A great example of this could be found in charter schools today. In a 2023 New York Post article, it states that charter schools are outperforming public schools at all aspects of academia. The same year, a different article stated that 96% of charter school teachers felt that their beliefs aligned with data of the school they are working for. At the same time, charter school teachers feel that they are given more freedom to teach and have less oversight. Both of these are great examples of how less oversight and having the same mission statement can lead to getting the organizational outcomes done without having to micromanage, as McGregor mentioned earlier in his article. In his essay, The Science of Muddling Through, Charles E. Lindblom introduces us to two different methods for planning, the root and branch method. In the root method, you look at a problem or a goal, and you analyze it, develop a plan, and proceed accordingly. In the branch method, you take a problem or goal, and you start to tackle it in incremental steps, and adjust or pivot as you go along. The part of the essay that stood out to me could be found on page 176, where Lindblom starts to talk about some of the pitfalls of the root method, specifically when it comes to testing of good policy. According to Lindblom, there is no real test when it comes to a policy, as long as everybody agrees that the policy is good. The reason why this stood out to me is because it reminds me of the stubbornness of humans to justify a dogmatic policy that is failing just because others believe in the policy itself. As administrators, we need to be aware of not falling into that trap of group mentality or conformity. The root method might lead to this. Once again, a great example could be found with Lhasa. Despite there being no evidence, Lhasa continues to say that the housing at first policy works. And the reason why they keep saying that is because almost everybody in Lhasa agrees that the policy is a good policy. This is what Lindblom warned us about, that because of the root method, individuals, organizations will claim that a policy works on the basis that everybody in the organization agrees that it is a good policy. This is a clear warning for all of us administrators in the future.